This video summarizes a research study which investigated how tumor genetics may influence the risk of cancer-associated thrombosis. Every year, approximately 1 in 30 people with newly diagnosed cancer develop a blood clot called a venous thrombosis. Venous thromboses usually begin in the legs, but can affect other parts of the body, including the lungs. These blood clots cause pain or breathlessness and can lead to interruptions in cancer treatment or mean someone needs to be admitted to hospital. Sometimes this condition can be life-threatening. There is an effective prevention for these blood clots in the form of anticoagulant medication. However, this medication has a small risk of major bleeding associated with it, which means that we can't give it to everyone. We need accurate ways to identify in advance who is most likely to benefit from the treatment. This means we need to understand who is at highest risk of venous thrombosis. We know that cancer treatments such as chemotherapy and surgery increase the risk of venous thrombosis. We also know that some tumors disrupt the balance of the body's normal clotting system, but we don't fully understand why it happens. Every cancer is genetically unique. It carries its own pattern of DNA changes that build up as the tumor develops. This study explored whether genetic changes within a tumor might contribute to risk of venous thrombosis. We studied over 12,500 people with cancer who were recruited to the 100,000 Genomes Project, a study which was run by Genomics England in partnership with the NHS. Patients who joined this study had genetic sequencing performed on tumor biopsies and blood samples, which were then linked to their NHS records. We analysed the tumor DNA from each person and followed them to see who went on to develop a venous thrombosis. We found that mutations in at least 4 genes were associated with higher rates of venous thrombosis. However, other tumor features, such as a high tumor mutational burden and 2 specific DNA signatures, were linked to lower risk of thrombosis. We don't yet fully understand the reasons for this. One finding particularly stood out. Some people inherit a genetic variant called factor V Leiden, which runs in families and slightly increases clotting tendency. In people with cancer who carried the factor V Leiden variant, if the tumor had a mutation in the PCDH15 gene, around 1 in 8 developed a venous thrombosis within 6 months of entering the study, compared to 1 in 30 people who did not have either of those genetic changes. Differences like this could eventually help guide decisions about preventative treatment. Before we can be confident about this finding, we first need to replicate it in other studies. We also need further research to evaluate whether genetic information can be used to accurately predict venous thrombosis in practice. This study represents just one small step towards a more personalized approach to blood clot prevention in cancer. To read the full article, please visit the link on the screen. Thank you to the Wellcome Trust for funding this work and to all the participants of the Genomics England National Genomics Research Library whose contributions made this research possible.